Okay, so we were talking about yesterday, and so yeah, we were beginning the plug next to normal, and I'm just I asked you point blank. I said, so Angelina, just give us a rundown. Like, what is the show about?
And I couldn't do it.
And you started getting all existential.
Because I was excited. You have no
and I was
idea.
like, yes, but if you had to say stuff about the plot and the characters, that would be.
I'm so sorry. Yes, I did realize what I did yesterday. But we're here with Amy Currin and Jordan Daughtey to actually talk about Next to Normal, and they will give you the plot because I will go off on a tangent because I am, excuse the pun, addicted. I love this show. Love. There are no words. I mean, there's plenty of words, but I'm going to let you say them.
All right. Well, Amy, why don't you take us through? Tell us about your character and tell us what is Next to Normal about.
Well, Next to Normal is it's a musical dramedy. It's a little bit funny. It's a lot dramatic, poignant. It's about a woman, Diana, that I play, who has bipolar disorder and goes through a lot of treatments, and it just kind of explores the effect on her, the effect on her family. I mean, and it sounds like that. Well, it just sounds like a drag of a show, Amy. I got to tell you, but it's not. It's got a lot of really funny parts. It's got a lot of very moving parts. And the music is amazing. The music is it is everything from kind of standard Broadway to jazz to really rocking type of stuff. The writers were kind of inspired by Rent. And it's got a lot of that feel to it, but kind of a sparse stage setting, modern day, and again, you know, a pretty heavy topic, but dealt with in a way that's accessible. And it takes a person, you know, a lot of times you see people with bipolar disorder or mental health issues generally depicted in, you know, not a very appealing fashion. What they do with this character, they make her appealing and they make her somebody you could know.
Relatable. And I
Very
think
relatable.
that is one of the draws for me, aside from, you know, the amazing music, is it's relatables.
Absolutely.
You know someone, or you've been through something similar, maybe not bipolar, but I talked about yesterday going through depression.
Absolutely.
And it was, wow, thank you. Yes, that is exactly how I felt.
Right.
So, and then Jordan, you play Amy's daughter in this, Natalie.
Yeah, and Natalie is coping with her own anxieties and depressions, and mostly just her resent that she was stuck in this family with all of these issues. And it's kind of like Natalie's story, I guess, is one more of not necessarily coming to age, but coming to terms with life as it is. And, you know, as a teenager, no matter what you go through, you always come to that that end where you're like, oh, okay, well, this is how real life is going to be, and I can do this. I can make it through life no matter what my circumstances are. And so it's really cool to see Natalie grow in juxtaposition to Diana and watch them both try to come to the same result of the end of their stories, but in very different ways.
What's it been like doing this show for you guys?
Very intense. I fell in love with this show when I saw it in Rochester. My niece performed the role of Natalie at a community theater up there, and I knew nothing about it, came into it cold. I saw it twice and just sobbed, you know, on and off throughout, sobbed, laughed, everything. And at that time I said, oh gosh, I wish they'd do that in New Bern. They'll never do it in New Bern. And then the next thing I know, they're doing it in New Bern. So, I mean, I started working on the music as soon as I found out that the show was going to be done here. And it's a very big departure from anything I've done before. If anybody saw me in Young Frankenstein or Les Mis or Oliver, I mean, I have played like total character funny parts with fat suits and moles and corsets and crazy stuff like that. This is the opposite of that. You know, much more dramatic. I haven't done anything dramatic since I was 12 and I was Helen Keller. So, you know, I had to access a whole different thing.
Right.
But just wonderful. And the small cast is amazing. I mean, this cast, you just couldn't find any better 6 people. to work together. We really have become a family while doing this show because it's such an intense experience,
Right,
and
yeah.
we've been rehearsing a long time.
Who else is in the show?
Bryce Todd is playing her husband, my father. Derek Jordan is playing my brother. Jim Chittick is taking on the role of Doctor. And was that everybody?
Henry,
Oh,
your boyfriend?
Christian Heath, my real life boyfriend, whom I love and adore, is also playing my on-stage boyfriend. And it's just an incredible cast.
Some guy.
I'm never going to hear the end of that.
Some guy.
Never.
It's directed by Alan Berger, produced by Laura Wilson, and we have Jimmy Merritt, who's the musical director, and Brandon Banks will be playing the piano for this. So it's an intense score. I'm not a musical person, but I remember the very first rehearsal I walked in on. I forget what song you guys were rehearsing, but after you were done, and there was this little tiny moment of silence, and I said, wow, good thing this is an easy score to sing.
Whew, no, it's probably
difficult.
one of the most technically challenging shows I've ever been a part of. And like not just musically, but when I say technically, I mean lights, set,
Right.
everything has been so intense. But it's all going to be so worth it.
Well, now, you know, talking about the show and everything that it's about, it sounds like a very heavy show, very weighty. And there's probably some people that will hear that synopsis and say, gosh, that sounds like a downer. That sounds really deep. I don't know if I want to invest in that. But tell us, with that in mind, how are people going to feel? What are they going to think when they walk out of the show and the lights are up and they're going back into the world?
The first thing is, everyone, whether you have someone in your life who, who suffers from a mental health issue or not, there is somebody in this group of 6 people that you will relate to. There's somebody in there who you will feel their story. And I'm telling you, you will laugh at this show. I mean, there are some really funny parts. Also, at the end, I mean, in a very small way, this reminds me of the movie Inside Out. You know, the children's movie,
Right,
Because
right.
it goes through, you know, to have the good feelings, you have to have the bad feelings.
Right.
You know, in a very simplistic. So that's not the uplifting message at the end of this, but it's got that uplifting message at the end of this that there's hope.
Right.
And I think this is an important show. I mean, it won the Pulitzer Prize. That doesn't happen for musicals very often. It's happened 9 times ever, and the last one was Hamilton, so it's in pretty good company.
Right.
And so I mean, worth the investment. Absolutely. I don't know anyone who's seen the show said that was such a downer. I hate that I wasted any time going to see it. Everyone I've spoken to that's seen it is that's an amazing show. It's powerful. It's awesome.
Well, and it's important.
Yes.
Is the biggest thing is that even if you think, I don't really know if I want to sit for that long and feel these emotions, if you don't know anybody like Diana or like Natalie, then that is especially important that you see the show, because people like Diana and Natalie and me that struggle with these things, we live in a society where we're not allowed to talk about them, and we're not allowed to be open with them, and we're not allowed to experience our emotions the way that are in a healthy way. And so this is important. It's starting a discussion on mental health that our society is finally coming around to, and finally opening up about, and allowing some freedom and some peace for people who struggle. So if you don't know anything about mental illness, you haven't experienced it, it is extra important that you come and see this show, because it's going to show you a whole new side of things.
Right. Right.
It's probably worth noting that this doesn't have the same rating as Inside Out, though.
No,
it is
indeed.
rated R.
There is
Everybody's
some
done it.
salty
Rated R.
language in this. In fact, I am concerned. I'm 54 years old, and I am not allowed to use the F word around my mother. And my mother's coming to the show opening night, and I'm afraid she will have her slipper with her, because that was the punishment for the F-bomb.
What night is she
in our
coming?
house.
Because we might sell extra tickets on that night.
I still haven't said the F word in front of my mother, and I have to say it several times. So yeah, the language is a little bit salty, and the themes are heavy. My 12-year-old nephew, who's involved in the theater, was thinking about coming, and I kind of dissuaded him from doing that. But I mean, you have to just acknowledge. I mean, that kind of language is a part of life, and this depicts life in a pretty real sort of environment. So.
Right. You know, and one of the things that I also love about everyone's performance, I mean, just molds together. But even if it's not about, if you're not looking at it for the depression or the anxiety or the bipolar, it also just kind of depicts a regular family
really
that has problems.
Exactly.
Because there's a line in there that I really, really appreciate when, Diana says it could be the drugs, or maybe it's just the marriage.
Maybe it's
I
just
don't
the
know.
marriage, I don't know.
Because it also just kind of shows a family dynamic that's going through some issues. And
Exactly.
So, like I said, I'm absolutely overwhelmed
Right.
with emotions for this production, and all of you do such a fantastic job. I have to look at confession. I look at your feet. When I know there's a scene coming that's going to bust me to pieces, I look at your feet, because you portray your facial expressions are so on point.
I'm going to sell you out and tell everybody that you had to come and see the show in sections, that you had to work your way up and watch a scene, and then the next rehearsal watch more, because it was just so real for you and so
It is
important.
Well, and we talked about this yesterday with, I talked about going through my depression, and I know what I'm going through. I know what I'm feeling. I know my part. What this show did for me, and I'm about to tear up, was showed me what my ex-husband was going through. And that was hard.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't help him.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the biggest.
Now is a time for something funny.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really is a phenomenal show.
Mm-hmm.
One of the little lighter areas of the show, and a little more on the uplifting side, is the beautiful little romance that develops between Natalie and Henry.
I mean her boyfriend?
Well, yeah, that guy. It just, the fact that love blossoms in the context of a very, difficult family environment is one of my favorite things about the show.
Right.
All right, let's talk tickets. How do people get tickets today?
For tickets and information on Next to Normal, which does open this Friday, it runs for 3 weekends. You can go to newberncivictheater.org, and you can purchase tickets online. You can call Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. By calling 633-0567. There are some other things that I need to talk about real quick. We only have less than a minute. It is sponsored by the law offices of Oliver and Cheek. Again, we would not be able to do what we do on that stage without the support of the community. And also, we have a very special event. If you swing by the theater, we have Jill Everly's paintings. Her artwork is on display. She came in during the rehearsal process and captured this show beautifully, and some of them are on display in the window to the public. The others are inside in the lobby. So get your tickets. Like I said, it's 3 weekends. You won't regret it. It's a feeling show, a moving show, an uplifting show. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm excited to sit through the whole thing for a change.
By the time it closes, you'll be able to sit through the whole thing.
look
in
at
one sitting.
faces.
Yeah, right.
Yes.
And look at faces. So thank you so much for coming on, and
Thank you for having us.
we'll be right back.